Hey everybody, Rob here. It's time for a few new malicious compliance stories. First one, don't touch my stuff. Let's jump right in. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. In college, I had a randomly assigned roommate that I did not get along with at all. Our personalities were just on two opposite ends of the personality spectrum, and we clashed. The only things we had in common were that we went to the same college and lived in the same apartment. That's it. Anyways, it was a nightmare living situation. The apartment had 4 rooms and 2 bathrooms. She and I shared the same bathroom, as our rooms were next to each other. We had 2 roommates on the other half of the apartment that we both got along with. After over 8 months of just pure passive aggressiveness towards each other, like I would put sticky notes on her days-old dirty dishes, and she would put my wet laundry on the floor, she decided to report me to apartment manager for bullying her. Honestly, we were doing it to each other. However, the apartment manager took pity on her because I was tall and athletic and she was 6 inches shorter than me and very thin. She claimed I physically intimidated her and she was scared to live with me. She did this because she wanted to move to a new apartment without paying a $500 fee, but instead, the apartment issued a written warning. The warning stated that we were not to touch any of each other's personal belongings without written permission. First infraction was a $250 fine. Second infraction was a $500 fine. And a third infraction would result in eviction. I was so scared walking out of the office because I could not afford those fines, and she had the biggest smile on her face. I knew that she would immediately report me. I went back to the apartment and she left for work. I was mortified. Then I realized she made a huge mistake. Everything communal in the apartment belonged to me, and she was a super moocher. I told my other roommates what had happened, and they were shocked. I asked if I could use their bathroom temporarily, and they said, of course. So I immediately emptied out everything that was mine in our shared bathroom. Shower curtain, toilet paper, rug, towels, soap. I grabbed my magnetic whiteboard and listed out everything in the kitchen that belonged to me. Plates, cups, mugs, pots, pans, silverware, coffee maker, toaster, pot holder, towels. Literally listed every single item and said that she is not allowed to use any of it without my written, no text, permission. I also drew some eyes to remind her that everyone was watching. I popped that whiteboard on the fridge and went in my room to do some homework. Later, she came home from work and had a meltdown. She screamed. Not any words, just a blood-curdling scream. In the following couple of days, her father came to the apartment to threaten me that they were getting a lawyer. Laugh out loud. She bought her first roll of toilet paper and a plastic shower curtain, but it was too much for her to handle. She went back to the main office to report my bullying once again, and was instead told she could either deal with it or pay $500 to move to a new apartment. She moved out 7 days after the warning was issued. Don't you love it when people act all snarky and entitled and they just get bitten in the ass, especially by their own damn actions? Karma at its finest. On to our next story. Just work where you're scheduled to work, that's it. Let's jump right in. Hi y'all, I currently work at a big box store that you'll probably be able to figure out fairly quickly by the end of this. There are only 2 main characters, myself and an assistant manager. Anyways, yesterday I was scheduled to work as a cashier. However, my main thing is customer service, so on days that I'm scheduled to cashier every once in a while, I'm most likely at the service desk anyways because there's never a closer for service desk. This has never been a problem, and to be honest, some days I don't think managers ever even notice I was supposed to be on a register. So it was an extremely busy day. We had way too many people in the store and not enough cashiers. An assistant manager decided she'd take it upon herself to get the lines down, paging every cashier to the front, including some on lunch. Eventually, I get paged to the front. It's 6 p.m. and all the other service desk associates went home. I have a line and I'm getting it down, so I ignore the page with plans to let them know where I'm at after I get through the customers. Not 2 minutes go by when she goes through her list again. I start rushing, and once I finished, I went to tell her I was at the service desk. Here's how that went down. Hey, I heard you paging me to the front, but I'm already here. I'm at the service desk. There's no one over there. I paged you 10 minutes ago. I need people on the registers. You're not supposed to be at the service desk right now. It's supposed to be both closers called off. There's no one there. That's why I went over there. No one sent you there? Well, no, but then you don't go there. You don't supervise yourself. We know what's going on. If we need you there, we'll put you there. Open register 6 and from now on, work where you're scheduled to work at and nothing else. Understood? Understood, I guess. Anyways, she did let me stay at the services desk, but not without continuing to bitch about how I shouldn't go where I want and all that. It pissed me off, so I said screw it, I'll just do that from now on. Well, guess what? Today I also had a cashier day, and the first thing I did after clocking in today was ask which register I should open. Pretty smooth. It's 1 p.m. and the service desk has its associates. 5 p.m. rolls around, and this is where I know it's gonna get interesting because, once again, the 2 closers called off. This happens too often. Right now, there's no attendance penalties due to recent events. I watched the last service desk associate for the day leave, and I continued ringing people out. I was giddy with anticipation. The assistant manager was supervising the front end again, and this time I did as she told me. I stayed at a register. Well, it finally happened. The first customer, she rolls up to the service desk and looks around and waits. Then, someone else rolls up behind her too. Now I'm watching and waiting for the assistant manager to notice when the first lady decided to walk back and ask the nearest cashier, presumably, if there'd be someone to help her. I don't know what the cashier told her, but she walked back and waited again. There are now 4 customers in line for an unmanned desk. When the 5th person lined up is when she finally noticed, and by then people were already antsy. I saw her scrambling behind the desk and looking around, and I didn't dare make eye contact. I kept ringing people up. Well, she had to help the customers, and not only that, but her pride was so much she didn't actually want to ask me for help. She closed the service desk today, and by the end, she was angry as all hell and said she never wanted to cover customer service again. She closed it an hour early. Weak. Bosses who order you to do jobs they wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole are absolutely the worst. I think every manager though should have to do each one of the jobs that they preside over. How can you manage something if you don't do it yourself? On to our next story. Parent gets exactly what she wanted. Let's jump right in. So I used to work at a before and after care place as a site coordinator. Basically, I was in charge unless my boss was there. We had so many entitled parents who never thought their precious little angels ever did anything bad. Let me preface this by saying I absolutely love working with kids. They are the best part of my job, but the worst part of my job is usually the parents, though there are some pretty amazing parents. Now, I worked there for about 2 years. There was this one kid who was in 1st grade the first year I was there and was super sweet. Never got in trouble, always doing what we asked, etc. Well, the following year, he became friends with some of the older boys and started acting up a lot more. Like, basically every single day, he would get in trouble and lose some time from his free time. Because there was usually so many of us working, about 5 every afternoon shift, a different teacher would catch him, take time away, and then tell his mom when she came to pick him up that he was roughhousing. This happened every day for the first 2 weeks of school. We were well within our rights to write the kid up, 3 write-ups, and you could be removed from the program. But because we knew how he was from last year, and because it was usually a different teacher disciplining him, it never got to the point that any of us felt he needed to be written up. Until Mom freaking complained. She set up a meeting with our director, my boss, and basically said, "Those teachers are bullying my 8-year-old son. Unless he is written up, I don't want to hear another thing about it." When my boss called me and told me, I was furious. First off, we had about 50 kids every afternoon. Why would 5 freaking grown adults want to bully your 8-year-old when we have 49 other kids to worry about? Second, why are you blaming us for what your son is doing? Obviously, the behavior isn't changing. Cue malicious compliance. So I got my coworkers together and they were furious at first. But then I said, with a huge smile, so I don't want any of you bothering mom unless he gets written up. All of my coworkers smiled, knowing exactly what I wanted them to do. It took maybe 10 minutes for us to catch the kid roughhousing again. Immediately, we took away some time from his free time, sat him down, and did the write-up. The kid has to be there so that we can ask why they did it, explain why they're getting written up, yada yada. And the kid just starts crying. Now, I hate seeing kids cry, but at this point, he had been being a little jerk, so he kind of deserved it. I signed off on the write-up along with my coworker, and my coworker went right up to mom with it when she got there. Her face turned beet red as she glared at her son before signing it without another word and stormed out, him following along sheepishly. We laughed about it later and didn't have another issue with the boy. He went right back to being an actual angel. I guess the child and the parent just needed a small dash of reality. I know if it was me when I was a kid, one little write-up wouldn't have stopped me from continuing to be a little asshole, so it makes me wonder how this actually worked for this child. On to our next story. What kind of pressure do you like? Let's jump right in. When I was in university, I was looking for a part-time job. I managed to secure a position with a company called, let's say, Tenerife Seraphim, for safety's sake. They trained you up to be a masseuse, and you would work in either casinos, clubs, or ferries, going around and offering punters an Indian head massage. My young and inexperienced self thought this would be a great way to earn money. In reality, it was dodgy as hell. Only women were hired, often blonde, and usually no older than 25. You were taught how to perform a stripped-down version of an Indian head massage, but given no formal medical training or understanding. You had to pay the company each time you wanted a shift. Started off as £35, but went up to £60 after time, and then the rest of the money you made was yours, cash in hand. Some days I would make less than £20 a day to keep, but other days I easily made £200. And seeing as it was a part-time job, purely to give me more spending money during my university years, I actually stayed there for a good year and a half. I worked on the ferries to France. There were usually 3 types of people on these ferries, other than those working on it, of course. You had the lorry drivers coming to and from Europe, you had the people on holiday or having a little trip, and then you had the booze cruisers. Booze cruisers, for those of you who might not be aware of the term, were the people who went on the ferries purely to pick up duty-free alcohol. Due to the cheap alcohol on sale at the bar as well, more often than not, they would sit on a ferry for an entire round trip or two, drink constantly, and then get off with crates of discount beer and wine. These were usually the worst people I encountered. As a young woman offering massages, the amount of crude and disgusting remarks I would get from male booze cruisers was insane. Multiple remarks per trip about happy endings and that kind of thing. But I usually just ignored them as I genuinely enjoyed my job. One day though, I got the opportunity to exact my revenge on these types of passengers via malicious compliance. A whole group of men, aged around 40 to 50, decided they all wanted massages. I couldn't very well say no, so I went over there and the loudest booze cruiser was making the same disgusting comments, getting laughs off all his mates. I went through the basic medical spiel and asked him what kind of pressure he likes. He told me, "Give it to me hard, I like it hard." Cue more laughter. Now, when it comes to what pressure you want in a massage, it's important to be honest. A masseuse, even a basic one like I was, is trained to put their entire weight into their arms if need be, in order to perform the massage at the required level. If you prefer a light touch, tell the masseuse, as they have no other way of knowing. So I comply with his request. I raise myself on my tiptoes and I press into his shoulders with all the might I can muster. He screams in front of all his mates and they stop talking. And I innocently go, "Oh, sorry, I thought you liked it hard. Would you prefer medium pressure instead?" He nods and I move down to my standard no extra pressure technique. He paid me £20 for a 10-minute massage and I left having done what was asked of me. This was definitely an interesting story because it sounds like the masseuse is the one who got the happy ending. I'd like to thank all 4 OPs for posting their stories to the Malicious Compliance subreddit. You can visit them at the links in the description below. Please go there and give them an upvote. Second, why are you blaming us for what your son is doing? Obviously, the behavior... Once again, this is Rob from Karma Comment Chameleon saying thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and share it with your friends. And we'll see you in the next one.